So this next mysterious video will make you question everything. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's check it out.
There are some missing people cases that still remain unsolved. Various efforts have been made in an attempt to find them, including the use of CCTV cameras and other security footage. Number 5. 53-year-old Gary Watson Shearer from Renfrew, Scotland, disappeared just hours after he had arrived in the area of Lanzarote in celebration of St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of March. He had checked into a hotel in Puerto del Carmen and headed to Bar 67 right after. CCTV footage captured Gary lying unconscious in a doorway around 1:30 the following morning. A search was conducted of the area, but to no avail. Recently, though, new CCTV footage emerged showing Gary walking with an unidentified individual. According to Gary's niece, Darcy Shearer, the authorities had contacted the family about the footage. They stated that they were unsure if this was a brief encounter or something more than that. Previous CCTV footage had shown Gary in a jovial mood and mixing with a group of 6 other people at the pub the evening that he disappeared.
What that make you think of? That make me think somebody could have possibly put something in his drink or something like that. You know what I mean? That's why you gotta be careful. I know we like to go out of town and turn up and have a good time and get crazy. But you also gotta remember you're out of town. You don't know people in that area. So you gotta keep yourself at, you know what I mean? Keep the drinks at a minimum so you're able to be aware of your surroundings, man.
Gary had been officially reported missing when he failed to show up for his flight back home. Gary's parents, Anne and Danny, as well as his sister Michelle, had flown out to Lanzarote to assist in the search. His family has also been critical about the police, stating that there was a lack of support in the weeks that followed his disappearance. Darcy stated that they're trying to keep his face and name out there in hopes that someone may recognize him or know anything about his whereabouts. A Facebook page called Find Gary Shearer was created as well, and one post read, quote, "Sorry for the lack of posts, there's been very little to update you all on." The new footage is said to be released to the press, and hopefully more information may come through regarding this man's whereabouts. Furthermore, Gary is said to suffer from epilepsy, as well as type 2 diabetes. He also walks with a limp and had been wearing a green and white Celtic football top, white shorts, and shoes at the time of his disappearance.
That's another scary thing. The thought of somebody having a medical accident and maybe hitting their head and then not remembering who they are, that makes me nervous, man. Seriously, bro, I worry about stuff like that.
He's said to be 5 feet and 2 inches tall and has graying or black hair. Several searches have been carried out in the area in an effort to locate the missing man. It's stated that should anyone have any information regarding this man, they're to make contact with the Civil Guards People and Homicide Team in Las Palmas. Additionally, you're encouraged to contact 07722 094 907 or 07305 243 618 or the local police. Gary Shearer's sister also stated that it feels empty without her brother around. As time moves on, concerns grow about the well-being of this missing person. With enough media coverage, the family hopes that Gary will soon turn up and believe that he is somewhere out there. The unidentified male in the CCTV footage has also not come forward with information. He can be seen in a light-colored shirt and dark pants. Efforts to find the man are still being stressed, and his case remains open and unsolved to this day for the time being. Number 4. Trevor Doyle was born to Michael and Anne Doyle on the 15th of August, 1978. He had grown up in Naas, Ireland in County Kildare. He was the youngest out of 4 children. Trevor is said to be very close with his family, but was the closest with Mark, his older brother. He had gone on to study business at the Waterford Institute of Technology, but dropped out and struggled to find his calling. He then decided to take a computer course in Dublin that was concluded in 1999. After he had graduated, he had many job offers, but had decided to work in the IT department for the Bank of Ireland Asset Management. On the 7th of December 2000, Trevor was attending a Christmas party for his office at Buck Whaley's nightclub that was close to the bank at which he worked. The party had gone on until the early hours of the morning. It's believed that he had departed at around 3:30 in the morning. It had been raining that evening, and there had been a taxi worker strike, so he had to walk home. The bank was still open at the time, and so he decided to grab his umbrella before venturing on a 20-minute walk to his apartment in the Ballsbridge neighborhood. Before embarking on his journey, he had some tea and spoke with one employee, Carl Pender. It was only around 4 that he began to make his journey. During the walk, he phoned Glenn Cullen, his friend, but left a voicemail because the friend had already been asleep. This was the last time that anyone had heard from Trevor. The following day, he had not shown up for work, and his coworkers, as well as his boss, found this to be urgent and concerning. Other employees had also been upset that day. That weekend, none of his friends and family had heard from him either, even though he had made plans with them. It's assumed that he was just busy. When Monday came, Trevor still had not shown, and this is when the urgency had kicked in. Mark had then received a phone call regarding his brother's status. He received a phone call from his mother that Monday, and she was frantic. The bank soon reported Trevor missing, and the search for him began. Mark was dedicated to finding his missing brother after he had not returned home for over 2 months. Authorities managed to obtain CCTV footage from the bank, as well as other nearby businesses. The cameras captured some chilling inferences. At 3 that morning, a man who was wearing dark attire was seen heading toward the bank's gate and stood behind a pillar.
See, they could get away with so much stuff back then. Mind you, this is 1990. This says, actually on the screen it says 1190. So 1990, right? There's no Ring doorbell cameras, no bunch of cameras everywhere. Today's time, you can't move 5 feet without a camera catching you. You know what I mean? So back then, man, it was probably like the wild, wild west, bro. You couldn't be walking home at night just randomly by yourself. You had to be careful where you walk. You needed to know the area. You needed to, you know what I mean, be aware of your surroundings and stuff like that. Protect yourself. Like 3 something in the morning, I think he said it was. This shows like 1 a.m. or 12 a.m.
Dark attire was seen heading toward the bank's gate and stood behind a pillar. It appeared as though he was trying to hide and stayed there for about 30 minutes. At 3, the man answered a phone call. This is when Trevor entered into frame, also on a phone call with the man he would be having a cup of tea with. Once he arrived at the second gate, the unidentified man revealed himself, and the two had spoken briefly. Trevor entered his workplace, and soon another 2 men appeared at the gate, staring through it, but they were later found to be co-workers and had been cleared as suspects. The mystery man eventually walked out of frame. At 4 a.m., Trevor left the bank and headed for his apartment. 14 minutes later, he's seen passing by an ATM close to Haddington Road and Bagot Street Bridge. About 30 seconds later, the mystery man reappeared and was seen heading quickly in the same direction as Trevor. Trevor's friends and family had handed out flyers and went door to door in an effort to find the missing man. He's since been missing for 23 years and would now be 45 years old.
And if this is the only footage that you have, a dark shadow person walking through, you got nothing, bro. Like, this is heartbreaking because you're looking at pretty much probably the best evidence they have, which is also probably the worst thing that they have because there's no way you're going to be able to ID a person off of that.
He's said to be 6'3" tall. He had red or blonde hair and green eyes. At the time, he had a thin build and is said to have had a distinctive gait and walked with his arms straight down. He'd been wearing a yellow and brown shirt with beige pants and had a blue ACC golf umbrella. Should anyone have any information regarding the whereabouts of this man, they're encouraged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-250-025. The case was reopened in 2016, and another anonymous tip was received in 2017 that stated they know what happened to Trevor. According to the tipster, the man who followed Trevor was part of a local gang who wanted to gain access to the bank. They suggested that Trevor had been buried in Dublin, but after several weeks of digging, no body was discovered. It was then suggested that the tip may have been based on a mistaken identity. The search was called off, and to this day, Trevor Doyle remains a missing person.
My goodness, man. And I know some people just, you know what I mean? You just can't help them, but they'll be like, oh, it's been 20 years. They're not going to know, man. It's been 30-year cases, more than that have been solved. Yeah, that person may still no longer be around, but at the same time, you provide that family with the closure they need. And I'm pretty sure his family desperately needs some type of closure. Or else you sit there and you just think to yourself, he's out there, he's out there, he's out there. There's a possibility. And you never get any type of rest that way. Absolutely not.
Number 3. Michaela Margaret Kim Bali went missing on the 12th of April 2016. She was born on the 2nd of July in 1999 and would now be 23 years old. Michaela has been missing for 7 years. At 41 minutes past 6 in the morning on the 12th of April, Michaela messaged her friend Askana and asked if she could drive her to the bank, stating that she had $5,000 in her account. Upon investigating, authorities found that this wasn't true. Askana had declined, and at 20 minutes past 8, Michaela attended her classes at Sacred Heart High School. She would then go on to exit through a back entrance and make her way to the bank between 8:50 and 8:55. The bank had captured her on CCTV talking to someone on the phone, but when the bank teller opened the shutters, she had quickly ended the phone call. She then drew $55 from her account. Not long after, she had entered a pawn shop to pawn a silver ring, but the owner refused it. The next time Michaela was caught on CCTV footage was when she entered a combined Tim Hortons and Wendy's restaurant at 9:15. She had ordered a drink and sat in a booth with her backpack alongside her.
I think I might be familiar with this case. I don't know if it was from Mr. Ballin or somebody else, but somebody might have told. I want to say it might have been. She might have been dealing with an older gentleman or something like that. Usually, that's the case with young girls in high school or early on in college. I don't know. They go through a phase where they want to deal with older men. I can't remember, but I think that may be a possible. You know what I mean? One of the things they were possibly looking into with this case. I'm not sure though. I could be wrong.
She had ordered a drink and sat in a booth with her backpack alongside her. During her stay at the apartment, she'd been nervously looking at the entrance. After a few minutes, Michaela got up and placed her backpack on her back, but she'd not had this bag at school, and this led investigators to believe that she could have been planning to leave Yorktown, Saskatchewan in Canada. At 23 minutes past 9, she exited through one of the exits only to immediately re-enter and use a different exit. She then returned to the Tim Hortons and Wendy's restaurant at 9:49 while on the phone with someone who's yet to be identified.
What that seemed like to y'all? Like she's waiting on somebody, right? When you're waiting on somebody, let's just say at a restaurant, you walk outside, you look, you see, you may come back in the opposite side, you get up, you're looking around, you standing up, you're anxious. That's you being anxious on someone's arrival.
She then sat at a booth that faced the door. At 12 minutes past 10, Michaela messaged her friend Shelby, saying that she needed help, only to retract it and say that she had figured it out. At 43 minutes past 10, she asked a woman for a room at her hotel, but she refused. 2 minutes later, she left the cafe while on the phone again. Between the times of 10:45 and 11:55, Michaela's whereabouts are not known, but she then re-entered the high school around noon that day. She'd met up with 2 friends and told them that she would be taking a bus to Regina. It was believed that she was possibly carrying 2 phones when inside the school. At 2 minutes past 12, she left the high school and went to the bus depot. She discovered that the bus she wanted to use was only departing at 5 in the afternoon, and so she left. She later returned to the UFC bus depot and had a meal at the Trail Stop restaurant. There were no CCTV cameras that had captured her there. Sometime after 1 in the afternoon, she had exited the depot but had never come home. Later that evening, she was reported missing. By the following morning, her phone was turned off. Authorities don't think that Michaela purchased a ticket, and after leaving the depot, her whereabouts are unknown. There have been numerous sightings of this missing woman, which have been as recent as 2019. but unfortunately these tips would come in too late. 2 months after her disappearance, Michaela had posted on social media with a picture of a Snapchat profile, stating that she's looking for some Snapchat friends because she didn't have any in real life. Authorities suspect that she'd made contact with someone the day she went missing and planned to meet them within that month. Additionally, a man who had a flaming cross tattoo was seen with Michaela, but it's now believed that he was just holding a door for her and he's not considered a suspect. It was found that the missing woman was messaging a man named Christopher. She had told her friends that she would be visiting him in Saskatchewan. Police officers had searched Christopher's home but found no evidence that he'd been in Canada at the time that Michaela disappeared. After some further investigation, it was found that she was possibly messaging other individuals through an app called Kik, where messages remain private. There's speculation that she may have met with someone whom she met through that app, or she was kidnapped. Michaela is described as having blonde, shoulder-length hair and blue eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she was said to weigh 140 pounds. She has chickenpox scars on her forehead and a birthmark the size of a dime on the right side of her jaw. Michaela had a mole on the right side of her chin and protruding front teeth, as well as a scar on her left hand. She has a fair complexion and a thin build. The missing woman is said to wear teal-rimmed glasses, and it's stated that should anyone have any information regarding her whereabouts, that they contact the local Saskatchewan police at 306-641-9436. Additionally, you can also email miraclemichaela@gmail.com if you have any information.
Bro, this is what would scare me about having a daughter. I don't have a daughter, but this is what would scare me. You know, like I said earlier, girls go, not all of them, some girls go through that phase where they want to date older men and they're just impressionable, and older men kind of prey on that, so they kind of be able to brainwash them and stuff like that. So they try to run away from home or go be with that person, not knowing who that person really is. Now you add in like these apps these days to where they can kind of contact and be texting and communicating back and forth. You add that on top of that, it's a recipe for disaster, bro. I pray for a lot of families out there that are going through this stuff right now with their daughter. Yo, that's tough to go through, man. And I'm not saying that's probably what happened to her, but it feels like that. It feels like that. High school girl waiting on somebody felt like older men.
Number 2. 33 years ago, on the 1st of June, 1990, 24-year-old Connie Lyn Royce disappeared. Connie had walked into the Hayloft Bar in Mount Clemens barefooted and was never seen or heard from again. Surveillance footage had captured the young woman making her way into the bar with 2 men who had been her date and his friend at the time. This is where she was last seen. The video shows that the 3 individuals were showing their identification in order to access the bar. Later on, caught on the same camera, she can be seen exiting the bar alone, where she hits her shoulder against the wall accidentally. Strangely, she had taken her shoes but left her purse behind.
Now, what's odd about that, y'all? What's odd about that? Not just her hitting the wall. You can tell she's extremely intoxicated. But there's nobody with her. She came in with 3 people. Nobody's going to be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, you don't need to be by yourself. You don't need to be walking alone. You're not in no condition to just be walking by yourself. Let me walk with you. Doesn't that seem odd? To me, it does. That's the first thing that stands, well, second, other than her hitting that wall.
It's stated that a possible sighting of her was seen from across the street, where she was using a payphone that same night. It's noted that parked nearby, there had been a 1970s model car, but it's not been confirmed if she had gotten into it or not, but ever since, Connie has been a missing person. It was determined that at the time of her disappearance, she'd been living with her parents after a short marriage, and had been dating a man before she disappeared. The relationship had to come to an end. The bar in question is situated in the 100 block of North Gratiot in Mount Clemens. On this day, Connie was going on a date with an individual named Greg, whom she met a few days prior. The two met at his apartment and then headed to Hayloft, where the friend, Brad, had joined them. The staff at the bar stated that the three individuals were behaving normally throughout the evening, and there was no argument or any unusual event happening at the table at which they sat. Around 11 that evening, Connie's date had gone to the restroom. Suddenly, Connie had gotten up and said that she needed to get away. She left without her black purse, but took her shoes with her. Camera footage revealed her leaving 50 minutes after she had arrived. Upon watching the video, Connie's family believed that she may have gotten spiked. A few minutes later, both men who accompanied her had gone outside to look for her, only to return moments later, where they decided to wait inside for her return. But by 2 the next morning, Connie still had not shown up. Her vehicle had been left at her date's apartment, Sterling Heights, that evening, and that's where it was found later. As for the unconfirmed payphone sighting, authorities had tried to access the records of it, but it had not been successful. Witnesses later reported that they'd seen a woman who resembled Connie at Newport Apartments in Clinton Township a few days after she had gone missing. After police investigated this claim, it was found that the woman the witnesses had seen was not the one they were looking for. The two men who Connie had been with that evening were interviewed and then cleared as suspects. Additionally, an arrest was made of a man named Leslie Williams after he confessed to 4 homicides in eastern Michigan. It was initially speculated that he may have had something to do with the disappearance of Connie, but he had been in prison at the time. Both Connie's ex-boyfriend and ex-husband were interviewed and were cleared as suspects as they both had alibis. It's noted that when Connie and her recent ex-boyfriend had broken up, she left barefoot. Some theorized that she may have wandered down to Clinton River, which was nearby to the bar. Authorities searched the river, but no clues were found. It's believed that she'd been spiked and abducted due to the sighting of her at the payphone, and it's then been suggested that she called someone to pick her up, and it's then thought that either that person never came to get her, or they did and something had gone wrong. Connie Royce was born on the 22nd of September 1965. At the time of her disappearance, she was said to have weighed around 120 pounds and was 5 feet 3 inches tall. When she disappeared, Connie was wearing a black sleeveless, form-fitted mini dress, which had a flower print on the skirt. One of the strangest features of her case is that she was barefoot. Connie was a Caucasian female who had sandy shoulder-length hair at the time of her disappearance, and she's also said to have had blue eyes. She allegedly has 2 tattoos. One of them has names and a heart on her right shoulder, while the other is a bumblebee found on her right wrist. She also has her ears pierced and is featured with a gap between her front teeth. Connie's maiden name is said to be Bostic, and in various accounts, her known surname, Royce, is spelled with an S. Connie would now be about 56 years old, and her case remains unsolved. If anyone has any information regarding this missing woman, you're urged to contact the Macomb County Sheriff's Office at 586-307-9358 or 586-469-5151 with the agency case number 0562590. Her NamUs case number is 5414, and her NCIC case number reads as M518264762.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. Stories like that make me not even want to drink anymore other than being in my own home. Like, it makes me, like, that type of stuff, man. You think, and then drinking around strangers is definitely a no-go. Especially if you're out. These people you just met. Now, I know they were cleared. To me, that still doesn't mean anything. People get cleared all the time, and then police have to come back, revisit them, and then they figure it out. You know what I mean? So we don't know. They could still be looked at, you know? But yeah, rules. It needs to be rules. You need to have rules for going out and partying and having a good time. And if you can't handle it or you feel like you're getting too, just don't. Wait till you get home and then have a few drinks. You're with people you don't know. You could be in a foreign place. You may act out. Your character may change. You know what I mean? You may do uncharacteristic things when you're under the influence and stuff like that. Who's to say someone did something to her? She could have fell in the lake. Could have been gators in the lake. You know what I'm saying? It could have been, anything. She could have walked out. Somebody stopped, asked her, was she okay? She walked over to the car, they grab her, put her in the car. Something like that could have happened. You know what I'm saying? It's so many different variables. It's scary. So one way to solve that, just don't, man. Don't. And I know the pressure of others to indulge and have fun is a lot, but look at some of the results of things that happen when people do, when they're by themselves and with other people they don't know.
Number 1. On the 17th of August, 2017, Hop Van Nguyen, a 32-year-old, disappeared in Grand Prairie, Texas, never to be seen or heard from again. Hop was born on the 11th of December in 1984. At the time of his disappearance, he weighed 165 pounds and stood at a height of 5 feet and 11 inches tall. He's characterized as an Asian male with black hair and brown eyes. He's said to have a scar behind his right ear, and the very tip of his right index finger is missing. Additionally, he has a half-sleeve dragon tattooed on his right arm, and the letters TFT on the inside of his right arm. He's also of Vietnamese descent. Hop was last seen on State Highway 161, driving a white Nissan 350Z convertible. He exited Lower Tarrant Road in Grand Prairie at around 10:30 on the evening of the 17th of August. Later, this vehicle had been found abandoned. The eerie part of this entire case comes in with the doorbell camera footage. In a 1-minute and 2-second long video, an unidentified male wearing dark clothing and a cap can be seen backing up toward the door, where they then place a piece of paper over the doorbell camera. For the rest of the
See, that right there is why you got to have multiple cameras. Everybody's aware of doorbell cameras nowadays, so they're technically good, but they're not as good as they used to be when they were brand new and they just came out. No, now you got to have multiple cameras around your property.
Video, the paper and a part of the wall is all one can see. The detectives involved in this case have not confirmed if they suspect foul play or not, but Hop's family and friends are concerned that the man was abducted after viewing the security footage that was taken on the evening that he disappeared. Additionally, after the paper is placed before the camera, the sound of loud fiddling noises can be heard as though the lock is being picked, and then the opening of a door can be heard. A few words can be heard spoken, but it's uncertain as to what was said. Some have suggested the man was speaking over a two-way radio. Footsteps can be heard approaching next, and the paper is pushed further against the camera to ensure that his identity is not captured. This incredibly creepy video only supports the idea that he'd been kidnapped. His family believe that Hop is in great danger. One family member, Shally Nguyen, stated that they hoped that someone had seen his car or him around the time of his disappearance, and that any information they received at this point would be helpful. Some individuals who have seen the footage believe that the perpetrator is a skilled criminal, and his lockpicking sounded rather trained as well. Some also believe that the man was communicating with someone else and not operating alone. This case appeared on the subreddit Unsolved Mysteries, and some Redditors believe that this seemingly organized crime has something to do with one of the largest Japanese criminal groups that's rather well known for the repercussions that may occur. They support this theory by referring to the missing fingertip, but it's been noted that Hop is not Japanese, and therefore this likely isn't the case. One individual suggested that it may be a different organized crime group that carried out the abduction of the missing man if that is the case. It's also believed that someone within Hop's inner circle possibly knows what happened to him and is keeping quiet about it out of fear, or the belief that it's a safer option if this is some sort of gang-related incident. While there has been some speculation among those interested in the case as to what the lettering on his arm means, nothing of that nature has been confirmed as of yet. Hop certainly disappeared under very suspicious circumstances that evening that he went missing. Should anyone have any information regarding this missing man, you're urged to make contact with the Grand Prairie Police Department at 972-237-8790. The agency case number is 170001-7223. Finding Hop Van Nguyen is certainly an urgent matter, as he may be an endangered individual. It's not been determined who was the last person to see him. His case is still open and under investigation, with hopes that useful tips are brought in that would aid in locating this missing man. Thank you guys so much for...
That's a strange situation right there. You need the time, you need the isolation. You have to be on point to be able to walk up, put the cover on the Ring doorbell, then turn, pick the lock, and go in. So you had to be watching that person to know their movements and, you know what I mean? Know the area, know people aren't going to be walking by to feel that comfortable to do all of that in one swoop. And then what was Hop into? Like, did he have gambling debt? Was he into gambling? That's the first thing that be popping into my mind like that. When people show up for you like that, maybe you're indebted to them for some money or something like that, or something you did, or something you have that they want. I don't know. I don't know. That's a weird case, but I've never seen somebody do that and then turn around and pick a lock like that and then come in on you. Yeah, that's a different level of skill. That's not your run-of-the-mill everyday type thief or stuff like that. They ain't got them type of skills. No. Listen, man, y'all get at me in the comment section and let me know what you thought about this video, man. This was 5 eerie videos ever with disturbing mysteries to hear. Leave a comment in the comment section, man. Like the video, share, subscribe, and stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone.